إن الله يدافع عن الذين آمنوا إن الله لا يحب كل خوان كفور.
زلزلت أركانهم حطمت أحلامهم زلزلت أركانهم حطمت أحلامهم.
Has taken over wide portions of Iraq. Mosul, gone. That's the second largest city in Iraq. Tikrit, gone. Fallujah, gone. Actually, they're now also taking more and more cities. We told you about the largest oil refinery in Iraq. So now these guys are Sunnis. They're fighting against the Shiite government in Iraq, certainly based in Baghdad. We can't really say all of Iraq anymore because they've taken huge portions of Iraq here. So let me show you the degree to which they have seized territory in Iraq. Look at this. Mosul's all the way up in the north. Tikrit is obviously far to the south of that, but then they have Fallujah, which is further south than that. So that's a huge section of Iraq. And if you notice, Fallujah, not that far from Baghdad. Now, we're going to get back to that in a second because disaster is impending there. So, first of all, let me tell you what they've captured in the areas that they have taken over. Associated Press reports, they said that ISIL, that's the short term for the group, fighters managed to take control of two big weapons depots holding some 400,000 items, including AK-47 rifles, rockets and rocket-propelled grenades, artillery shells, and mortars. Not only do they win the territory, but they get all this booty. When they get in there, they're like, oh, the idiots ran and left all their weapons behind. Oh, the idiots ran and left all their weapons behind. But it gets worse. What else did they leave behind? US-made weapons and armored Humvees, aircraft from the airport that it captured, freed all the detainees that they held in the Mosul's prisons, so now their forces are significantly larger because all those prisoners that were a part of their group and some that were not part of their group are now once again part of their group, so their group is substantially larger, and $400 million from the banks of Mosul. So now they have a ton of money to buy new weaponry. They now have an air force, and they have US-made armored Humvees and other weaponry. Abandoning their posts and running from Mosul was a disaster for the Iraqi army. We'll get to why they did that in a second. By the way, those great soldiers in the Iraqi army, didn't we train those guys? I thought we spent years and years training the Iraqi army. Both Bush and Obama declared it a huge success. You know how much money we spent training the Iraqi army? $20 billion. Yeah, that seems like a really good investment.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
حبة البطل والينا هذا حبة البطل والينا المنية ما تغمض عينه المنية ما تغمض عينه حبيب حبيب كنا يا حسين نطيح بصوت كنا يا حسين مشيم إلى بشعليك يا جدي دميع من دم ولا بشعلي يا جدي دميع من دم ولا بشعلي يا جدي دميع من دم.
Okay, now let me tell you what's happening on the ground. Let's go to The Guardian and how the battle ensued in Mosul. Iraqi officials told The Guardian that two divisions of Iraqi soldiers, roughly 30,000 men, simply turned and ran in the face of the assault by an insurgent force of just 800 fighters. It's like out of the movie 300. They're going to have to rename it 800. Okay, now you're going to say, oh my God, that's the worst corrupt army you've ever seen, and what cowards, etc., and what cowards, etc. Of course, there's truth in that, looking at the numbers, but actually, it's not quite that simple. I'm going to tell you why they ran in a second, and it connects to why we should have never invaded Iraq in the first place.
بالنسبة لموضوع الغيبة، موضوع السؤال، إذا نذهب إلى روايات أهل البيت، إلى أحاديث أهل البيت، نجد في أحاديث أهل البيت أنه غاب خوف القتل. بعض الروايات جاء لسانها عن الإمام الصادق عليه السلام أن غيبته خوف القتل.
ما السبب الذي يمنعه من الخروج إلى الآن؟ تقريبا 90% من علماء الشيعة يقولون السبب واحد، وهو خايف، وذاك من أسمائه الخائف الشريد الطريد. يقول الخوف ما فيه، هو سبب الخوف. وذاك يقول الطوسي لا علة تمنع من ظهوره إلا خوفه على نفسه من القتل، لأنه لو كان غير ذلك لما ساغ له الاستتار. وهذا قاله في كتابه الغيبة صفحة 29 و300. إذن هذا هو السبب الرئيسي، وهو إيش؟ خايف على نفسه من القتل.
But let me give you more details first. The Iraqi army outnumbered ISIS, this is according to the box, by about 40-1 in Mosul. Yet the army still turned tail and ran. Ran so fast, in fact, as to leave some of their tanks and helicopters behind. Okay, and we showed you yesterday a picture. They literally stripped off their uniforms and left them on the side of the highway. I mean, what a disaster, right?
Iraqi security forces, following years of training and billions of dollars in weaponry from the U.S., have melted away, leaving checkpoints unmanned and stripping themselves of their uniform.
You can provide the most advanced weaponry, you can provide the training, but what do you do about someone's will if they don't have the will to fight? And as they were overwhelmed in Mosul today and this week, many of these Iraqi fighters laid down their weapons, they abandoned their uniforms, you could see them lying in the streets. They don't have the will to give their lives, they'd rather live.
Reuters reports troops discarded their uniforms and fled their posts, leaving Iraq's second largest city under the control of the ISIL.
Let me show you what the highways look like after these guys came through. You know what that is? That's the soldiers' uniforms that they left behind as they ran in a panic.
They abandoned their arms, ammunition, and armored vehicles and their positions, leaving them behind to terrorists. They even left Mosul airport and some planes.
Since late last year, ISIS, known as the Islamic State, has been violently seizing more and more territory. It was only a matter of time until they reached the doorsteps of Ali's base. The recruits tried to flee. But it was too late. ISIS had arrived.
The Shias aren't going to fight for it. You can pay them all the money in the world. You can spend $20 billion training them. They're not going to fight. They ran from 800 guys and left everything behind. And those 800 guys, of course, now no longer 800 guys, much larger. Iraqi officials have already privately asked the U.S. to consider sending in drones to root out jihadists from the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, who in a lightning offensive have seized the swath of the north. So why did they run? So let's go to Box. Despite the United States spending billions of dollars training the Iraqi army before the American withdrawal at the end of 2011, the Iraqi army is chronically unable to fight like a professional military. So one of the problems is that they're not professional.
Well, what can we do? We've already provided them with the weaponry that they've needed. They want more. They say, send us more. But, you know, on the internet today, you could see photos of the Chechen leader of the militia there, the Islamist militia, actually in a Humvee, an American-made Humvee. They also captured some helicopters at the airport.
Iraqi insurgents take control of Iraq's second largest city, Mosul. In a stunning defeat for Iraq's security forces, the nation's second largest city, Mosul, was taken over by Islamic militants on June 10th. Iraqi military forces in Mosul were overrun by militants from the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, or ISIL, on Tuesday. Reuters reports troops discarded their uniforms and fled their posts, leaving Iraq's second largest city under the control of the ISIL. Following days of heavy fighting, Iraqi officials conceded that nearly all police stations and government buildings had fallen to the insurgents. The militants also attacked a high-security prison inside a military base and freed some 200 inmates, while as many as 1,000 were freed from a second prison. Raising the ISIL flag over Mosul's main administrative building, the rebels declared an end to the battle for control of the city.
خالفت من جراه قول فلان يا حبذا ذاك الخلاف فإنه عين الوفاق لطاعة الرحمن أوما علمت بأن أعداء الرسول عليه عاب الخلف بالبهتان لشيوخهم ولما عليه قد مضى أسلافهم في سالف الأزمان أوما علمت بأن أعداء الرسول عليه عاب الخلف بالبهتان لشيوخهم ولما عليه قد مضى أسلافهم في سالف الأزمان خالفت أقوال الشيوخ فأنتم خالفتم من جاء بالقرآن قالوا له خالفت أقوال الشيوخ ولم يبالوا الخلف للفرقان خالفت أقوال الشيوخ فأنتم خالفتم من جاء بالقرآن